Hello everybody and welcome to a very special Faster Masters Rowing Radio. For regular listeners, you will know that I omitted to do a broadcast at our normal time, and the reason is that I've travelled to the UK. And you may be able to hear from the background noise and see from the wonderful hedgerow behind me that I'm actually on the banks of the River Thames at the Henley Masters Regatta. I'm here with Steve Dance, who is the communications director for the regatta. Steve, welcome to your first ever Rowing Chat Faster Masters podcast.
I think so, yes, definitely.
Now, just tell the listeners a little bit about you and your personal background in rowing.
So I guess you described me as the club rower, rowing for over 40 years at various clubs. Started at school, rowed through university, and then carried on rowing. Not only in Henley, a bit in Australia, a bit out of Reading, but for the last, I guess, over 30 years at Upper Thames in Henley. So very fortunate to be able to row on this stretch of river, which we call God's own river. We may be biased. And I've sort of been involved in a bit of organisation of rowing in the background. And in the last couple of years, I was asked to help out in the background of the Henley Masters Regatta Committee.
So just pause there a moment. Henley Masters started in the 90s?
I believe it was not. Let me look at my paper here. It's 1994.
So it's been going for quite a long time. And I gather it was Fiona Dennis's father who actually started this regatta. And he also started the National Masters Regatta. So what a prescient bloke.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's also a guy called Harry Harvey. Was probably the same guy. Is set up. You've obviously done your homework better than I have. I said I'm the new boy in this regatta. But Harry set it up. Upper Thames has been the platform to launch it over a number of years. It's run alongside Upper Thames, and Upper Thames support it actively.
Upper Thames is the club which is on the finish line. And of course, the Henley Royal Regatta course is over 2,000 metres long, but of course, Masters, we only want to race 1,000. So they've adjusted the course to make the start match the finish, so it's 1,000 metres. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. And it's been like that since the start of the regatta. It's the International Masters racing distance. And this course, especially with the booms set up for the Royal Regatta, is absolutely ideal for it. Absolutely ideal.
Do you think this is the only knockout Masters Regatta in the world? Because it's run, like the Wimbledon tennis. You have a draw, and it's only two. It's match racing, so two crews race. The winner goes through to the next round.
I'm pretty sure there are Masters events, other club regattas, other national regattas, which are knockout. And obviously there's multi-lane, and the World Masters is you run in heats, and then you have medals for heat. It follows the model of traditional club regattas, which have knockout, and you go through and side by side. Some of the older club regattas, they involved a lot more steering around corners and bends and watermanship about the stream. There's a bit of a challenge on stream, but it's the same as the Royal Regatta. You've got to know where to push, where to not, how to handle the waves from the umpires' launches and the cruisers going by. And there's various gaps in the booms where the waves are bigger. And I certainly lost a race here because we hit a wave and lost a blade. But it's a good course. It's a very nice course. And actually, because you're side by side, the racing is special. Any side by side racing is special. And you might be the fastest crew, but not on the day.
That's right. Now, you said that you joined the committee last year. You had a very particular job to do.
Yes, last year was as COVID hit us all last year. And my first job, whilst I was a new boy learning it, was to actually say we're not holding a regatta, which was very disappointing. The team behind it was really, really working hard to try and get something through. But with the regulations, the quarantine, there's absolutely no way. And so this is my first year. And I would say it's been an interesting year in that even as far as April, we were definitely still not sure we're going to hold a regatta. And today I'm delighted, absolutely delighted that we're holding a regatta because if you look at the atmosphere on the banks here, it's superb. But even a matter of weeks ago, that was not certain at all we were going to hold an event. Is it all perfect? No, I think there have been some dropouts with the track and trace and last minute COVID notifications. Crews who've been training as much as they can during the COVID period are disappointed. But we've got majority of the crews racing and some great results. And actually, the weather's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, there's been very little wind, very fair conditions. A few swans on the course occasionally, but I think they get out of the way, don't they, nowadays? They're well trained.
Well, mostly.
So we've got events from Vet A up to, can you remember the oldest?
It's Vet B. We're Vet B. We start at Vet B, although someone who is Vet A, a 27-year-old, and I think there is a 27-year-old in the regatta, Irene, the event secretary, she's good on the stats. It's 27 to 84. We start at Vet B and we go all the way up, and I think the highest we've got is an 80, it's an 85-year-old, looking at my notes here. And the ages are packed, men and women, all the way through. And you'll see some really good racing. This year, there's a lot of scullers, and that may be because during COVID, everyone get in sculling boats. I personally was rowing in a quad scull yesterday. I'm not rowing today, which is why I'm doing this, which is I'm a little sad about. But actually, we had a great race, and I wouldn't be surprised the guys who beat us win it. It was a fair result. We're not quite ready yet.
Now, what would you say to an overseas crew who might be interested in coming to the regatta in future years?
Future years, definitely. I mean, we normally have 20+% of international crews.
Okay.
This year, we're down to 4 athletes, and it's due to the quarantine, the regulations, and the uncertainty of that, because you'd have to plan some way in advance. I mean, there are 4 athletes. There's one from New Zealand, who I'm sitting next to at the moment. Rebecca raced yesterday. And there's 3 from Ireland. I don't know who the 3 are from Ireland, but and that's it. But a part of our process has been to being regulated by the local authority, is to make sure everyone signs up to the COVID regulations, the distancing. And in these times of changing COVID regulations, that's tricky. And I know the guys behind it, John Thornber, the organiser, and Irene, and people like Tim Kitto, Jim Davis on the bank side, and the rest of the committee have been working very hard to make sure this event goes ahead and juggling the COVID. But I think that's exactly the same for the other events on this stretch, Henley Women's, Henley Royal, and Henley Town and Visitors, all struggling with trying to run an event under changing and differently interpreted COVID regulations. That's quite a mouthful, isn't it? Differently interpreted.
Definitely last weekend at Henley Women's, spectators were encouraged but told they couldn't shout for the crews, but everyone seems to be cheering today.
I think we're not as big a regatta as Henley Women's. The bank spacing is bigger. And try enforcing non-cheering.
You can make people wear masks, but it's very hard.
Also, I think tomorrow night there's 66,000 people in Wembley Stadium. We are far more...
A little sporting event. Yeah, exactly. What are we worried about?
Yeah, we're far more spaced out than that. So now in future years, it depends on how COVID develops. We would welcome international athletes. We think it's a great event. People love to come here and race with... sorry, some French just walked by. Love to come here and race down through the booms. If they've raced at Henley as they were younger, it reminds them of the previous years. But I mean, it's a good, friendly regatta, really friendly regatta.
Let's talk about the future for Masters rowing in the UK. What's happening? Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Are there more or less events?
It's interesting. Whilst we're down on international athletes, actually we're up on British crews. We're slightly down overall, but the British crews has grown. If anything, as a regatta, we've got a capacity limit. We limit entries. Initially, we limit everyone to just one event, and then we allow some doubling up. Generally across the country, Masters rowing is growing and growing. It's probably the fastest growing group in the country in all the types of rowing.
Congratulations.
Whether that's starter Masters, or people who've done it for years like me, or people who've done it, taken a pause, had a family and coming back again. It's a very attractive sport, and if anything, I think it's the capacity of the clubs and the events to cope with the demand. Certainly it's a very healthy Masters scene in the UK, definitely.
That bodes very, very well for the future. Steve, thank you for joining me on Faster Masters Rowing Radio. And to all of our listeners, I very much hope that some of you will get the chance to come and do this extraordinary regatta. Just a word of warning, the medals are very, very superior. Till next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.